Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Garage. I'm Jeremy Cordo. Peter Clayton is behind the camera. How are you, Pete?
I'm good, thanks, Jeremy.
I was telling you yesterday, is that a moth? Anyway, I was telling you yesterday that I had a brand new Australian flag for Australia Day, which I'll have up on the flagpole because the one that's there at the moment is a little tatty. I know that there's a law about flags. You should take the flag down at sunset and put it up at sunrise. But that's sort of gone by the board. Anyway, it's rather old. I'll keep it because it's been with me a long time. But this is the brand new one. Happy Australia Day, Australian flags. About 6 feet long. It's a big one. Good. I'll pop it over there. Anyway, hope you're well. Welcome to the show. Just before, speaking of flags, just before I do anything, it's a funny place, this world, isn't it? Golly. The Tasmanian Parliament has been accused of having a lack of respect for Indigenous Australians because they removed the Aboriginal flag. Well, they didn't remove the flag. They temporarily replaced the Aboriginal flag with the flag of Denmark for the obvious reason. The coming to the throne of a famous Tasmanian, well, now famous Tasmanian. The red and white flag has flown in tribute to the Hobart-born Queen Mary, who was proclaimed Queen of Denmark alongside King Frederick X on Sunday. And so that becomes a controversy? Really? I think the Aboriginals, no, I don't think it's the Aboriginals, to be totally honest with you. It's the activists. It's the activists. That's who it is. They'll create a drama out of absolutely anything. Less than 3% of the population. While I'm looking at news stories, because these are the sort of things that you're not going to hear about in what you might call the popular media. Why? I don't know. But have a listen to this. Electric car charging, it's an American company, it's called ChargePoint, will shut down its network of almost 50 stations in major cities around Australia in a blow to Anthony Albanese's plan to green Australia. The US-owned company confirmed in an email to company members, executives, that it would shut down its charging stations in New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland from February the 1st. ChargePoint told its customers it will no longer be maintaining a presence in Australia and would cease operation of its 46 charging ports. And that, of course, goes along with the story I was talking to you about, I think it was Monday, that Ford and General Motors have ceased production on electric cars.
The Hertz rental cars?
Oh yes, thank you for reminding me. What's the story?
Well, a friend has said that they are selling their entire fleet of electric vehicles. Hertz rental cars.
But is that in Australia or in America?
Here, I believe.
Here.
And there's another company in Europe doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, you see, this is so crazy because the media should be reporting this stuff because it is germane. It's pertinent. It is there, the media, to inform us so that you don't go out and buy some useless, bloody, expensive, pointless electric vehicle. Oh, no, it's not the rhetoric. That's not the agenda. No, can't possibly do that. Anyway, we'll keep you informed here in the garage in the court of public opinion. Pete and I promise. Lots of wonderful comments about your music, Pete.
Yes, thank you to all those people. That was very gratifying.
Well, I didn't answer any of those comments because I left those to you, but I think it means you've got a hit on your hands.
Yes, but if I'd answered them, it would have come up as you answering them anyway, so...
Oh!
That's the way it works, so thank you to everyone.
Well, you see, I don't know how it works. I'm just amazed that it does. Speaking of being amazed, I am amazed at the extraordinarily wasteful NDIS and how it continues to skate under the radar. One of, if not the, most scandalous wastes of public money continues to get a dream ride in the media. Why? I have no idea. I want to talk to you more about health and the NDIS later on. The promised and legislated stage 3 tax cuts will, I believe, be scrapped. This is after about, 300 mentions by this government, by various people, saying, oh, no, they're legislated, those tax cuts, they don't affect me, but they affect an awful lot of people in that tax bracket from $40,000 up to $200,000. Now, it's a simple legislated means of getting rid of these traps in the tax system. And that was put in there by the Howard government. Perfectly sensible. It's a great idea. You have a simple tax arrangement. Corporate tax 30%, personal tax 30%, and the consumption tax 10%. Simple. I suppose the only people who might argue about it might be the accountants. I don't know. Because when things get complicated, they get expensive. Anyway, that's my prediction. That the much promised and legislated stage 3 tax cuts will, well, when I say be scrapped, they will be scrapped, or most of them will be scrapped. Which is almost certainly the signal of the end of the Albanese government. Because you can't lie over and over and over again and get away with it. Oxfam's Lynn Morgaine, a quote, "The wealth of this country has to be provided to the people who need it. The wealth of this country has to be provided to the people who need it." Really? I would have thought the wealth of this country, any country, would belong to the people who earned it. After they'd paid their taxes, of course, which government can redistribute in any way they like. This is not yet the People's Republic of Australia. Now, I understand this lady is an activist. I have not been able to find out very much about her background, but Oxfam, if you want to Google it, makes for interesting reading, particularly the sex scandal in Haiti. That was an interesting one. Not for the children, mind you, but anyway. For the World Economic Forum, being held in the Swiss Alps, Davos, a summit and resort for billionaires? Well, a good hunting ground for the likes of Oxfam. They're there with Rent-A-Crowd. Having billions of dollars means you have failed. Now, there's another good quote. Having billions of dollars means you have failed. The words of Oxfam's executive director. Really? So that's where I went wrong. Pete, my big tragic mistake. And I didn't know it. I've always believed, and I've taught my children, hard work. Work hard, achieve, be independent, self-sufficient, self-reliant, strive, take risks. reward and incentive, and enjoy your success, if you're lucky enough to have it. I reckon critics of this philosophy are the sort of people who won't teach our kids anything like that. They'll teach our kids how to apply to Centrelink, or how to queue up for the dole. But the subject brings me to the big picture. The big picture is, and I do mean business, the business of charity, like Oxfam, the big business of charity. You know, and do Google this, because that's where I got the information. The average salary paid to a charity CEO, Chief Executive Officer in Australia, is $350,000 a year. $350,000 a year. I'm sorry, that's disgraceful. Not widely known, but disgraceful. They won't even tell us how much of each dollar collected goes to the cause, as opposed to administration and salaries and leased motor cars and overseas research, holidays, and God knows what. I don't know. And you know why they don't do that? Because they don't have to. And they should. Let me tell you a story. I think I can probably tell you, because it's maybe 20 years ago that it happened. When I left 5DN, and I basically retired, it must have been around 2003, something like that. I thought, I've got to make myself useful. So I noticed an ad in the paper for a chief executive officer for guide dogs. I thought, I love animals. Guide dogs do a lot of very good work. I'll apply for that. It was through one of these human resource companies. I used to call them employment agencies. Anyway, so I duly make an approach, and they say, oh, well, yeah, look, you sound like somebody with media experience, and you know, you can handle the PR thing very well, probably, and let's have a talk. Sounds great. So I duly come up to the appointment. I'll never forget it. I come up to the appointment, and I answer all the questions, and he asks me more, and then he says, you haven't asked about the salary. And I said, what do you mean, what salary? I thought that it would be a honorary thing, it would be a volunteering thing. You know, like the work I did for Variety for all those years. But the guy said, you don't want a salary? And I said, no, I'll do it for nothing. Oh, he rocked back in his chair and he said, you can't do that. I said, why? This recruiting agency charges, I think he said, a month or 2 months' salary, your salary, for finding you. So if you're not charging anything, we get nothing. So I'm sorry, I have to disqualify you. I rocked back in my chair and I thought, my God. I've always suspected charity was business. This guy confirmed it. Anyway, I have no idea who got the job, and frankly, I don't care. But it did teach me a lesson. The government is in high dudgeon over the loss of $5 billion in excise because of the sale of illegal tobacco products. You must have read about this, heard about this. The so-called chop chop. Well, they don't quite know whether it's the bikie gangs arguing with each other, burning down the tobacco shops of their competitors. I have no idea. I don't think the police do either. I'm tempted to say let them kill each other. Just leave them alone. Let them get to it. But no, I will bet the government is up in arms because of the money. Always follow the money. The government is going to spend $190 million of our taxpayers' money to stop the illicit sale of tobacco. What they mean is the tax-free sale of tobacco. At least we know how to get the attention of the government. We talk to them through their pocket. The tragic case of the man who was left waiting 10 hours for an ambulance recently here in South Australia. Response times are appalling. On that night, 14 ambulances were ramped at the RAH. That man is now dead. Couldn't get to him in time. Couldn't get to him in time. It's a very small, easy to get around city, Adelaide. Peter Malinauskas, the Premier, was elected specifically on the promise that he would end ramping. He has failed. Ramping is 3,500% more than when Labor came to power. It's that simple. He should resign. But as a performer, he is the best Labor leader in the country. If he goes anywhere, it'll be to federal politics. But getting back to business, instead of fixing the ramping or resigning, he is wiping Christmas Day and Anzac Day from the calendar. And he's firing up the legislated Aboriginal voice to state parliament. No surprise that he and Albanese both come from the same faction, the socialist left. And now, of course, Thomas Mayo, one of the architects of the failed referendum, is deeply involved in trying to get his mates in federal parliament to come up with a legislated federal voice to parliament. Both the state and federal opposition parties have got to commit, they've got to seize the moment, commit to abolishing such legislation immediately upon their election. Or they too will be, and I'm not sure they're not, but they too will be totally out of step with the people. Above all else, can you imagine the arrogance that these Labor people have to ignore the fact that this proposition was so soundly, profoundly defeated as to start imposing it through the back door? I wonder what it is about no that these people don't understand. Tomorrow, having talked a bit about medicine, I will talk to you some more about the failure of Medicare. Firstly, it was Medibank, and then it was Medicare. It goes back to the Whitlam days. In fact, these days with Albanese reminds me a great deal of those crazy days with Gough Whitlam. Anyway, we'll talk to you in detail about, because I think you must be pretty sick of the broken promises. You know, bulk billing is almost non-existent, and that was the whole purpose of the exercise, a means test free, absolutely free to everyone health system. Another failure of Labor. But you can't excuse the Liberals because they had the opportunity to get rid of it, and they didn't have the chutzpah. A bit like the NDIS, I suspect. Anyway, Thank you very much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. Let me wish you a happy birthday. Remind you of a few of the anniversaries. January the 17th. Captain James Cook becomes the first to cross the Antarctic Circle. 66 degrees 33 south. 1773. That man was the right stuff, wasn't he? He certainly was. The first fully automatic photographic film developing machine was patented. 1928. I don't know how they developed them. It must have been one by one before that, I would think. Anyway, Charles Bell. I used to talk to Charles Bell, Australian fast food executive, McDonald's. He dies. Rose through the ranks. He died he was born in 1960 and he died on this day in 2005. Self-made man. Really the backbone behind the entire McDonald's success. It only takes one great man to put a corporation together. Possibly it takes a few more than one to take it apart. I keep seeing that. Oh, Lordy. Popeye makes his first appearance in comic strip form. Thimble Theatre, it was called, 1929. Al Capone, American gangster and bootlegger. He was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1899 on this day. James Earl Jones, American Tony, Emmy, Grammy, Golden Globe, award-winning actor, Star Wars, the voice, in fact, of Darth Vader. In fact, he was the voice of God as well. It'd be wonderful to have a voice like that. James Earl Jones. And he was the voice of CNN, I remember, for years and years and years. He would say with this great big, gravelly, wonderful voice, "This is CNN." Yeah, and it was. Carol Ray. Her real name was Kathleen Corkery. Born on this day in 1923. Carol Ray, British-born Australian actress, number 96, blankety blanks, nice lady, very nice lady, born in London. Comedian George Burns marries comedian, well, you don't hear that word very often these days, Gracie Allen. Burns and Allen, 1926, they were married. Ita Buttrose, Australian journalist and businesswoman, was born in Potts Point, Australia, 1942. When are you going to fix up the ABC, or are you leaving before? I'm not sure of the latest on you, Ita, but it suffices to say you're something of a disappointment in not clearing out that joint. Jim Carrey, Canadian-American actor, Eternal Sunshine, Spotless Mind, Dumb and Dumber, The Mask. He was good in The Mask. Very funny. Very funny. Born in Ontario, Canada, on this day in 1962. And Michelle Obama, first African-American US First Lady. She was born in, well, some say... Oh, no, I see what they're saying here. She was the first African-American First Lady from 2009 to 2016, and she was born in De Young, Illinois, on this day in 1964. Thank you very much for being with us, ladies and gentlemen. The Court of Public Opinion will be back tomorrow. Peter Clayton behind the camera. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Believe in yourself. Bye for now.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.